BFTB, best fight the best. So I'm gonna read two things. One of them is a definition, and the other one is an article. The definition explains this article, right? So this is the definition: a belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. That definition is a definition of delusional. That's the clickbait word that Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua, and his group of fan bitches use. Maybe they don't know what the term means, but this article that I'm about to read is going to explain that, right? So let's read the definition again. A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. Now we read this article. Bold move. Anthony Joshua set to sign contract for Deontay Wilder fight to put pressure on American, says promoter Eddie Hearn. Pause. Put what pressure? What pressure? What? Deontay Wilder was willing to sign a contract. You weren't. The pressure was on you. You weren't willing to sign it. You could have did this shit when the WBA came out and said, hey, this fight needs to happen. You could have said, hold on, WBA, I got a contract right now coming from Deontay Wilder in 3 days. If it doesn't come in 3 days, then we'll sign to fight Povetkin. In 3 days, you still haven't signed to fight Povetkin. But apparently now, Anthony Joshua is going to he found the pen. In all of the UK, Anthony Joshua found the pen. You know how y'all motherfuckers are always saying, oh, Deontay Wilder, find the pen, sign the contract. So Anthony Joshua decided to find the pen. I guess the Queen of England found a pen in her bedroom and gave it to Anthony Joshua. So he's going to sign a contract that Deontay Wilder already said he's not agreeing to. So you're going to sign a contract that Deontay Wilder already said he's not agreeing to. He already said it. A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. So Wilder said, I'm not fighting. From this point forward, it is 50-50 or no fight. It is 50-50 or I'm moving on to 51-0. That's what Deontay Wilder said. But despite any agreement or any evidence that Deontay Wilder is going to change his mind, Eddie Hearn is going to sign the contract that Deontay Wilder was going to agree to. He's going to have Joshua sign that contract and just put it in front of Wilder, as if that is supposed to change Deontay Wilder's mind. Even though Deontay Wilder already said from this point forward, it is 50-50. He's given no evidence or no agreement of anything other than 50-50 from this point forward. But Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua are going to put a contract in front of him anyway. A contract that he was willing to agree to if the fight was next, with a date and a venue. He was willing to agree to it. But since y'all motherfuckers decided y'all didn't want to fight him next, you always wanted to fight Povetkin. You've been saying that even since last year. You always wanted to fight Povetkin. That was always going to be your next fight. But you tried to justify that by putting y'all on an equal playing field by saying, oh, well, Wilder's next fight is always going to be Brazil. It was always going to be Brazil. So that you can justify your shit saying that yours was Povetkin. When Wilder never said that his fight was Brazil. He's never said that. Ever. Not one time. But that's how you fan bitches wanted to justify Povetkin by saying, well, we're fighting Povetkin, but Wilder was going to fight Brazil. It was always going to be Brazil. But he never said that. Never once. A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. Delusional. What evidence or agreement did Deontay Wilder ever give that he was fighting Brazil? Ever. When did he ever say that? What evidence or agreement did he ever give that he was fighting Brazil next? None. He never did. But y'all were fucking delusional because you had a belief or a altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. Absolutely fucking delusional. The very definition of delusional. But moving on. This article that you were going to put a contract in front of Deontay Wilder that he was willing to agree to in the past. But since y'all shitted on him, y'all drug him through the mud, y'all disrespected him, you're still going to put that offer in front of him, even though he already said he's not going to sign it. He already said that. But you're going to put it in front of him anyway. A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite any evidence or any agreement to the contrary. So when did Deontay Wilder say, hey, Anthony Joshua, if you sign that contract that's going to give me $15 million, if you sign it first and then come to me with it, then I'll sign it. When did he ever give you any evidence that he would do that? When did he ever agree that he would do that? A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. Delusional. Okay, moving on to this, back to this article. So, however, HEARN is insistent that both he and Joshua do still want to make the fight happen, with the target date being April 13th in Wembley of 2019. Well, why didn't you just say that? Why didn't you just say April 13th, 2019, months ago? Why didn't you just say, hey, we're going to fight Povetkin. You fight Brazil. We'll both get our mandatories out of the way. If we come through this, let's do a letter of intent that can show you that we're serious. A letter of intent to fight each other next year in April. Even if you didn't have the April 13th date locked down in Wembley, you could have said next year. Guaranteed. A letter of intent. Now, a letter of intent can get you in trouble if you don't fucking follow through with what it is. Because we can do it. That's a signed document. We could both put pen to paper and say, next year we're fighting. Didn't even have to say when next year. You can just say, next year, I guarantee we are fighting next year. If we both get past our mandatories. You get past Brazil, I'll get past Povetkin, we fight next year. If that's the case, Wilder could have been preparing and planning. He could have said, okay, bet, deal. Start negotiating with Brazil right now. Let's get this fucking fight out of the way right now. You could have started negotiating with Povetkin and got that fight out of the way right now. So you could have did your fight in September. Wilder could have did his fight in like now and been done. So then y'all could have had your letter of intent signed already. September, you could have when he did his fight, if you did your letter of intent before, if y'all had signed the letter of intent before Wilder did his fucking fight with Brazil, then you could have came to his fight and got in a ring with him. That would have been, you could have came to the U.S. and gotten a fight with Wilder. Got in a ring with Wilder after he beat Brazil, because he's knocking Brazil smooth the fuck out. But you could have gotten a ring. What? The buzz that would have came on that. The fan bitches would have came out of everywhere on this motherfucker's dick. But no. You want to play fucking games. This A-side bullshit. Even though he offered you $50 fucking million and you turned it down. The very $50 million that you said you would sign in 24 hours. You said you would sign it in 24 hours. But mysteriously now, your delusional fan bitches are saying, they put Deontay Wilder put a 24-hour deadline on it. That was Deontay Wilder. He put a 24-hour deadline. Deontay Wilder didn't put a deadline on it. Anthony Joshua put a deadline. Pause. A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. Deontay Wilder never put a 24-hour deadline on the $50 million. He offered it to you on April 26th. As late as June 21st, it was still on the table for you to sign. It was still on the table. He never put a deadline. He said, here's $50 million. Please agree to take this tomorrow. That's what he said. Which is exactly what Anthony Joshua said. Anthony Joshua said, offer me $50 million and I swear I'll sign it tomorrow. So Deontay Wilder said, here's $50 million, sign it tomorrow. Deontay Wilder didn't put no deadline on it. But the fan bitches said, Deontay Wilder put a 24-hour deadline on it. He just offered him $50 million with a 24-hour deadline. No, Joshua did that. But y'all have a belief or an altered reality that is persistently held despite any evidence or any agreement to the contrary. Fucking delusional. Okay, back to this article. So, Eddie Hearn says, I spoke to Anthony yesterday. All the terms that were agreed by Deontay have now been put into the contract. They've had them now for over a month and they have done nothing. So I think that what we're going to do, we're going to sign the contract. Anthony Joshua says, let's sign the contract and put it in front of them rather than them thinking that we're bluffing for some bizarre reason or we don't want to fight. What? Okay. So if you say, give me $50 million and I swear I'll sign the fight tomorrow, and I give you $50 million and ask you to sign the fight tomorrow, and you don't sign the fight, you say, I'm not selling my soul for $50 million. Is that a bluff? Or is that not a bluff? Is that a bluff or is it not a bluff? Is that if you say, give me $50 million and I'll fight you tomorrow, and then I say, here's $50 million, fight me tomorrow, and you say, psych, gotcha, bitch. Is that a bluff or not? A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary. This dude says, rather than them thinking that we're bluffing for some bizarre reason. For some bizarre reason? You turned down $50 million. The fuck you mean a bizarre reason? There's 50 million reasons right there. You turned down $50 million. The very 50 million you asked for. What's bizarre about that? Why would he not think you don't want the fight? If you say, I will fight you for this is my price, and then I give you that price, and then you say, well, I'm not fighting you for that price. Well, then why would I not think you don't want the fight? What about that scenario says you do want to fight? I don't understand you guys. But never mind, I do. You're fucking delusional. You have a belief or an altered reality, and you persistently have it, despite any evidence or agreement to the contrary. You're fucking delusional. So I understand why Hearn uses that word all the time, and why he's got his herd of fan bitches, his flock of fan bitches saying that. I understand that. Because he knows that word very well. Because it's him personified. So back to the article. It says Wilder erupted on social media in various interviews after the initial collapse of the bout, publicly stating that the deal has now changed and he would no longer accept the $15 million offer he initially agreed as a result. Despite this, Eddie Hearn intends to put pressure on the American to change his mind. You've agreed these terms. We've now signed a contract. So fingers crossed, April 13th at Wembley will be Joshua Wilder. Those very sentences themselves are the very definition of delusional. This man says that Wilder publicly says the deal has changed and he will no longer accept the $15 million offer. He publicly said this. But Hearn intends to change his mind by having Anthony Joshua sign the exact same contract that Wilder said he's not going to accept now. What? What? A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite any evidence or any agreement to the contrary. The very definition of delusional. The very definition. Hearn, Joshua, you fan bitches, you AJ dick riders, the protectors, that whole crew is fucking delusional. And not by my standards, by the very definition of delusional. The very definition. You will persist, you have this belief, this altered reality that Anthony Joshua, just by putting his pen to the paper, will force Deontay Wilder to sign a deal that he already said he's not signing. despite any evidence that Wilder would change his mind, despite any agreement that Wilder would change his mind, you still are going to sign a contract and give it to Wilder as if that is going to be the determining factor for him to change his mind for a deal that he already said he's not signing. What? What? So Wilder already said he's not signing a deal that he shouldn't be signing in the first fucking place. So it's a deal for less than what Parker got. For less. So Parker made more. Parker made more to fight Joshua in a unification fight when Parker was less known and provided less funds to the fight, but Parker made more. So Wilder, who is more known, who is generating more funds, and is fighting an undisputed, should make less than Parker. And y'all believe that. A belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite any evidence or any agreement to the contrary. You're fucking delusional. BFTB and I'm out.